evening, everyone. Welcome. It's always a pleasure to see a big crowd. I now call this regularly scheduled meeting of April 15th, 2024 to order. Please join me in a brief word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of our community as we conduct the business of our wonderful town. We pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen.
Those who can comfortably stand, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight we have three public hearings. The first hearing is a zoning request for 342 West Entrance Road. The applicant seeks to change the designation from R2 to general business. Mr. Manager, would you elaborate, please?
Yep, let me move this over so I'm not putting my fanny in this poor fellow's face right here. We have a request tonight that has been considered by the Planning Commission for a rezoning from the R2 residential district to the BG General Business District. The location is 342 West Entrance Road. Everybody knows it as an old barber shop. It does have residential zoning. It was operating as a non-conforming or grandfathered use. And I believe Sanchez is the applicant. Is Mr. and Mrs. Sanchez here? They weren't at the Planning Commission meeting either, but the Planning Commission did consider it as a straight rezoning in order to operate a convenience store. That was the purpose of the rezoning. Planning Commission did recommend denial of the request based on the residential neighborhood, the residential nature of the neighborhood, and probably the close proximity of a convenience store already there at the intersection of 8th Street or West Entrance Road and Main Street. If you have any questions,
Council,
but it
do you
is
have any questions before I open the public hearing? I now open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to come forward to speak for this rezoning request? Is there anyone that would like to come forward to speak against this rezoning request? Please come to the podium, sir. If you'd be so kind, could you state your name and record into the microphone? Your name and record, your name and address, and a long day.
My name is Wayne S. Gratton. I live at 38 Maple Lane. That's right next to the old barber shop. We had a good group of neighbors come here last time, and nobody were in favor of it. And I stand here tonight and say I'm opposed of it also, due to traffic regulations, parking, lightage. We were here to ask the questions, and nobody showed up that could answer our questions, so I present it to the board now.
Members of the council, do you have any questions for Mr. Gratton? Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to come forward to speak against this zoning request? Yes, sir.
Yes. Don Barrick, 42 Maple Lane.
What was your last name, sir?
Barrick,
Barrick. Good to see you, Mr. Barrick.
thank you. Same concerns as the gentleman had. It's just a nice, pleasant neighborhood back there. We have a convenience store less than a quarter mile the other way that I'm not sure that we need two of them. Another struggling business right there, once another. But it's a neighborhood. It's a nice, pristine setting. It's quiet, and I just don't think we need it there.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, members of council? Is there anyone else that would like to come to the podium? Hearing none, I'm gonna close the public hearing.
Got one more.
Whoops, I'm sorry. Public hearing is reopened. How are you, ma'am?
I'm fine. My name is Tawandra Spradley, and I spoke a couple of weeks ago when we were here because I don't understand why you all would want to rezone the area, which is all residential. It's a nice neighborhood. Fort Beaufort even closed their gates at 6 o'clock. We don't have all that traffic through there, and no one wants us there. And like I said last time, which one of you all would want a convenience store right in front of your house or right beside it? I mean, like we said, it's a good neighborhood, and there are stores right on the corner. The little mini mall up there with Walmart and everything is right up the street. They have Dollar General. Why would you want to do that? You know, that's my concern, and it's all my neighbors' concern because we really don't want it there.
Understandably so. I
All right.
appreciate your comments,
All right.
council. You
Well,
have
thank
any
you.
questions? Mr. Miller, any questions for this lady? No, then let me close the hearing.
But the planning commission also said that the only thing that could be done up there would be a barber shop.
What I told the planning commission what would be permissible, and since a grandfather is traditionally a 2-year term, that I would be obliged as a zoning administrator to allow another barber shop to go in there, but that's not the request, and therefore, when the request was made, it wasn't brought to you by the town, it was brought to you by an applicant or the owner of the property, and single-family, duplexes, townhouses are specifically approved for that zoning district, and I do believe we would be obliged to allow a barber shop back in that same location since the grandfather or the nonconformity hasn't expired.
Before we have any more discussion, would you allow me to close the public hearing? The public hearing is now closed. Mr. Gorman, you have the
Typically
floor.
2 years.
When does that 2-year window end?
I would say from the date that the barber shop closed. And Mr. Browder passed away, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. And I don't know the exact date of when Mr. Browder passed away. So I would say that certainly that the operations ceased operating upon his demise.
Members of council, you have any more questions? Mr. Miller, out of respect for your seat on the planning council, if you have a motion, I'd entertain it.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that council deny this request for rezoning.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller has moved and Mr. Gorman has seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Gorman.
Nay.
Nay.
The motion is to deny.
A motion
Yeah, aye, I'm
is-
sorry. It's my first time voting first for a while, okay? Yeah, aye, in favor of what I said.
You don't give us so many rookie
I know,
cards.
man,
Mine
I know,
are used
man.
up.
I'm running
So,
out.
yeah,
Aye.
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 that motion carries 7-0. The second public hearing tonight is for a conditional use permit of 1441 South Main Street. Mr. Van Orvik,
Hang on, let me catch up to you.
I gotta get these folks out by 10.
Well,
I'm watching.
I'm rolling quick as I can. Hang on a second. And the applicant is Maisha Atkinson, if I'm not mistaken. She just walked in the door, apparently. Ms. Atkinson has requested a conditional use permit to operate a dance hall at 1441 South Main Street. And that property is actually what used to be, I believe, Players Vape, I think is the name that's still on the front of the building. And it's located in the Walmart Shopping Center, which is zoned SB, Specialized Business. And Specialized Business was created probably 20 years ago to identify locations which are more appropriate for adult-oriented businesses. She's requesting a dance hall permit as a conditional use, which is required throughout town in the general business and the specialized business districts. It will have dancing potentially.
Yes, sir.
It'll have alcohol served
Yes, sir.
potentially, and it also will have amplified music. So those are really the three components for a dance hall. And Planning Commission did receive her request. There are a series of conditions that were agreeable to Ms. Atkinson at the time, and I'll leave this up here and you can look at them if they have any questions for you. But what we discussed at the Planning Commission, and there are a series of 9 conditions. If you'd like me to read them for the audience, I can. If you want to move forward, we'll just say they're very similar to what was originally conceived for the Lucky Eights facility, and then there were some additionals, 25 plus age
Yes, sir.
and hours of operations and that sort of thing. So,
So this is what this is where I'd like to proceed. I have a question or two, but I'd rather the council have a couple of questions for you.
okay.
And then I'll open up public hearing and then we'll hear from you, okay?
Yes, sir.
And I will say the Planning Commission did vote to recommend approval.
Thank you, sir. Members of council, do you have any questions about this application or any of the caveats before I open the public hearing?
It'll also be a restaurant as well, right?
It can be a restaurant, that's correct.
Is it going to be or is it can be?
Yes, sir. It's going to be a restaurant as well.
I
So,
can walk in there any time during open hours and get food.
yes, sir.
So basically, it's no different than any other restaurant that we have in town that serves alcohol.
With amplified music and dancing. I think
Right.
those are-
I think we have those all throughout, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, council?
Dancing, I'm a little naive, I suppose, but people bringing a date to dance with, or will they be dancers?
People to bring in a date to dance with.
Talking,
No.
She's talking about the Cupid Shuffle.
Okay. Can you play? Want me to try?
Magic Mike.
Forgive me, Mr.
I
Gordon.
was impressed with the business
Right.
plan and all the information that was provided. I really was. I will say that. There's a lot of information there. And
I didn't have a time enough to present the floor plan that I did make, so you guys could see the actual layout of how it would be in the inside. I can give you some details if you would like, because I don't think everybody was here last time.
We have your proposal in the package.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, yeah.
And you're okay with the 25?
Absolutely, sir. I'll be 30 in June, so I'm quite well with the 25 and up. And I just want to say, you guys were telling me about the press club, and I was not impressed when I went the other weekend.
Oh, I've never been to press club.
So I just would like for my business to be a bit more on the up and up than their word, because it was a mess.
So that was your idea?
Yeah, that was my idea for the 25
Okay,
and
'cause
up.
I was like, hey,
Yeah.
hold on a minute here. You know, people at 21, you know, I mean,
No,
as
that
a
was my
business, you
idea.
can set any policy you want. But,
Yeah.
you know.
What are hours of operation and days of operation?
So I will be open Monday through Wednesday. Oh, it's up there. Sorry.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Will you be checking from ID?
Absolutely. That's why I was getting at, because, and also I have very strict security. And even though it's a one-way in, from my experience over the weekend, it was just like a bum rush at that place. And I'm structuring my business to be ran not like that, because I don't want to get my ABC license taken away from me. And I also, don't want to get my, operational license taken. So I want it to be 25 and up, a strict enforced dress code as well.
As long as that's what you want, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Hear from other members. Any other members of council have questions? All right, if you'll take a seat, I'm gonna do the public hearing thing.
Okay.
All right, at this time, I'm gonna open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to come up and speak against this, conditional use permit? Hearing none, is there anyone that would like to come up and speak for this conditional use report? Members of council, are y'all satisfied with the testimony of the applicant, or do we need to have her back up here? I think you've made a good point.
I'm only concerned about precedent with the 25 and up. I think any business has a right to have 21 and up customers in the future. But being that this is something that she wants to do, I'm okay with it. I just don't want us in the
I wouldn't
future.
know how we could do that.
She can say,
She can. I just don't want in the future us to be saying, hey, we're not doing dance halls
But
unless
that's not
it's.
the case, so
Okay.
is there any other
Yeah.
questions?
The reason why I set the 25 and up age range, even though I know that 21 and up is allowed, is because a younger crowd brings a lot of problems, and I don't want that at my establishment.
I agree with you, ma'am. I was just setting for the record that I didn't want us in the future to deny dance halls that wanted 21 and up. That's all I was saying.
Okay, you made the point well, thank you.
And are you in agreement with that? So we had the hours of operation close at 10 p.m. Monday through Wednesday, close at 1 a.m. Thursday through Saturday, and close at 8 on Sundays. Is that
Yes,
right?
ma'am. That's
Okay, I just want to make sure.
You want to gavel? All right, any other questions? All right, at this time, I'm gonna close the public hearing, and Mr. Miller has asked for the floor.
All right, I am a part of the planning commission, and I sat through and I listened to all of her plans, and I would like to recommend to council that we approve this.
Mr. Miller is moving to grant this conditional use permit. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Page seconds. Is there any discussion?
With the conditions.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'll just say it's easy to assume when you hear the word dance hall, certain things. But upon reading the information and everything else, I do believe it's worth giving a chance. No
I
doubt
think it's
about
an out-of-date term. I agree with you
Yeah,
100%.
true.
And she had a good plan when she came to the planning commission.
All right, any other discussion? Granting a conditional use permit, I'm more comfortable with a, roll call vote. I'll begin with Mr. Gormas.
Aye.
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 Excuse me, this motion carries 7-0. The third and final public hearing involves text amendments to our zoning ordinance in reference to some setbacks on non-conforming lots. You ready, Mr. Manager?
Just a second, I will be. Just give me a call, Mark.
Public hearing number 3.
Yes, sir.
Did the planning commission vote on this?
They did, and they recommended approval. But I want to make sure, there was some confusion earlier today, but I want to make sure everybody understands. Right now, if you read our ordinance verbatim, it says that infill lots or non-conforming infill lots may be built upon if the setbacks are met. But our zoning ordinance is not particularly sophisticated because it just says 15% of the frontage at the building lot line, okay? So if you have a 100-foot wide property, it's 15 feet on either side. But a non-conforming lot would be anything that is less than 80 feet. And we have a lot of Blackstone that is divided up into 25-foot lots, maybe 60 feet, 70 feet. And on these smaller lots, we could end up with setbacks that are 2, 3, 4, and 5 feet. So the intention is to establish, so the Board of Zoning Appeals doesn't have to meet on a regular basis to banner these around, to establish a set side yard setback or a minimum side yard setback that isn't just 15%, because on very small lots, you could end up literally with 5 and 6 foot setbacks, which I don't think is the intention. 12 feet is the 15% of what a standard conforming lot would be. 15% of 80 feet is 12 feet. So what we're proposing on non-conforming lots or infill lots in the R1 and the R2 district, that they have 12, not less than 12 feet, or 15%, whichever is greater, okay? And the 15% would apply to anything over 80 feet, okay? And we just need to create a standard, I believe, and we presented this to the Planning Commission, and I think Mr. Queen was here, and the chairman of the BZA, who may be with us tonight, is also here, understood the process, because right now, we've been taking these to BZA, and sadly, we had one turned down, I don't think on factual basis, but what we're trying to do is give the development community and the town a clarity of what those side setbacks will be. And we're establishing non-conforming lots to have a setback not less than 12 feet, which is equivalent of a side setback in the R1 and 2 districts for an 80-foot lot. Because most of the lots, if you go down 2nd, 3rd Street, 4th Street, Brunswick, they're 25-foot lots. Yeah, there's a tremendous number of those lots, and especially in the West Blackstone subdivision that was filed in the 1890s. And we don't want to have a 3-foot setback. That's what our zoning ordinance currently says, is 15% of that particular lot. And if you have a 30-foot lot, then it's only 4.5 feet. So we're trying to establish a minimum. Okay.
Members of council, do you have any questions for the manager?
I do, but for those 25-foot lots, 15%, don't we already have that 80-foot rule that would prevent that? You have to have so much
Because our ordinance currently says non-conforming lots may be built on as long as the side setbacks or the setbacks are met. That is part of our zoning ordinance already. So I don't think a 3-foot or a 4-foot setback is,
Didn't we just have a lot that met those requirements and still got denied?
Pardon?
Didn't we just have a lot that did meet those requirements?
It meets these
and
new
still got
requirements, yeah.
denied?
And was denied.
What are our typical lot sizes that are coming to the BZA for?
50 foot. The one in particular that we discussed was 55 feet, and he was offering 17-foot setbacks on either side,
Still got denied.
and was denied. Yeah, it really, and our ordinance said clearly, infill lots may be built as long as the setbacks are met. However, I think BZA, as a matter of practical or policy, wanted to meet on these smaller lots, and we had one turned down, and I don't think the applicant is very satisfied with that outcome. And we're trying to establish a minimum so we don't have to go back through this again.
Any other questions for the manager? You ready to open the public hearing? I now open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak for changing these text amendments to our zoning ordinance? If you would, please come forward. I don't see any, so is there anyone that would like to come and speak against changing the text amendments to our zoning ordinance? Hearing none, I'm gonna close the public hearing, and as I've done before, Mr. Miller is on the planning council, and I'll give him the opportunity to speak first. What's your pleasure, Mr. Miller?
I would like for council to approve this zoning ordinance, section 4.8 and 5.8.
Mr. Miller has moved, is there a second?
I'd like to make a substitute motion.
Yes, sir, and what is that?
I'd like for it to read as stated with the 12 feet or 15%, but I'd like a minimum frontage of 50 feet to be added to that.
Members of council, is there a second?
I think we're gonna have to hold another public hearing to take that section out of the zoning ordinance. So I don't think you can add that tonight, but if you'd like to, we can hold another public hearing to eliminate infill lots are modified and say it has to have a minimum of 50 feet. But right now it says unlimited. It has no front setback or size minimum now. So I think it would be premature. I think we can have another public hearing to modify the zoning ordinance, but we have not advertised a public hearing for such.
I know it would be a very odd thing to do, but I don't particularly want somebody building a 5-foot house. With these 12 by 12.
Well, they can't build it on a 25-foot, but they would be providing, but they would be providing a minimum setback equivalent to a conforming lot. At least we're solving that problem.
Yes, I like that.
But if you want to have another public hearing next month, by all means, we can do that. But I think to amend the zoning ordinance to do what you're saying, I think is going to require more process. And that's fine. I'd be happy to send that to planning commission.
Attorney concurs, you wanna withdraw your motion? No.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it. The reason is if we don't set the minimum frontage, and where you'll have somebody with a 30-foot lot come in and have I don't think this would actually be a 6-foot wide house to meet the setback and build it long ways, and I don't think that's really in keeping with R1 and R2 districts.
Well, if you wanna continue, let me get a second, or do you wanna withdraw? And then, I don't, you can have all the discussion you want. I need a second to have discussion,
Oh, I see.
okay? So, for his motion.
But isn't that out of order?
It's out of order because, as he said, you can't change it.
It's not out of order, it's improper, and I would rule on that. So if you withdraw, the motion's withdrawn. Natty, now let me get a second to Mr. Miller, and then
Second.
we can have whatever. Who is
Second.
that? Mr.
Second.
Page seconds. Now discussion, you have the floor if you'd like to talk more about it.
I think I've said my piece. I worry that on some of the smaller lots, the houses can get narrower and narrower. And again, I don't think that's in keeping with R1 at all, with R2 either. I don't think that's what we're.
If I may very quickly, I think Mr. Allman may be onto something because we are having more and more inquiries. We haven't had any applications, but we're having more inquiries about tiny houses. So if you know what that term is, I'm not wholly familiar with it. Couldn't be on wheels. I'm certain with that, but tiny house implies a really small house. So it could be something really tiny as long as it's a building code and it's permanently affixed to the ground. So not a Connex, no. But that may be in timing with your request, and maybe the planning commission needs to work on that.
I think you're talking more San Francisco style homes.
Very
But,
narrow.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, I just don't think that's in keeping with R1 and R2, but I think that the work that the planning commission's done with this 12-foot or 15% is great.
Okay.
I love that. I would just like to add a minimum frontage.
Can we get this on the agenda next month and advertise the hearings to?
It needs to go to planning commission first, but I'll certainly get on the planning commission agenda to start with.
Make sure Miller and Page are okay with withdrawing their motion.
No, we're gonna keep this motion, but he's brought up some good points that I'd like to see go to the planning commission.
We'll add that to it, guys.
Just a minimum lot size,
Is that
lot
correct,
width.
Mr. Owen? Okay, all
Like
right.
this would pass, and then the addition will be added to it. Yeah.
I think it needs to go to planning commission now.
So it'd be a separate one for.
It would, this has been duly advertised, okay?
Okay.
Is there any other discussion? Mr. Miller has moved and Mr. Page is second, to, modify the text amendments to our zoning ordinance in reference to the setbacks on non-conforming lots. I ask for a voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion carries 7-0. Members of council, you have in your package a set of minutes from our meeting on March 18th, 1924. Are there any questions or comments?
Move to approve and dispense with reading the regular council meeting minutes
from March 18th.
Mr. Nash has moved. May I have a second?
Second.
I'll give the second to Ms. Nguyen. Is there any discussion or comments about these minutes?
Page 70 of 519 says the Virginia Business Resurgent Grant is 25,000. It's actually 50. And as I read on page 94, half of the Groversity payment has already been paid. So will DBI be handling that moving forward?
I think it's a joint effort between Chastity and the DBI director.
Okay.
But really, I think it's technically a town grant, since we've received the money, and so Chastity will be working on it with
Good.
It is.
It's a town grant. DBI is doing some of the volunteer work for some of the classes and the organization and structure.
Okay.
But the town's grant, so.
Well, I scratched that off the mayor's minute. Thank you.
Yes, sir. It
Is
should
there
be
any,
50.
do you need any action from council because of that number is different than what was discussed? Are we good?
As far as I know.
It's reflected in the minutes?
It's reflected in the minutes, and I did say it was 24 because that's what we had received.
Right.
But I think Jake hit it on his phone that it is 50,000. We just received 25,000.
Okay.
And there's a $5,000 match. And I think when the application was made, that the council was understanding of that, and that $5,000 has been set aside. So we do have and I think there is some in kind as well.
Any other questions or comments?
So we've received 25,000, but we haven't received the other 20.
Council, any more questions? Mr. Nash has moved and Ms. Nguyen has second to dispense with the reading and approve these minutes as presented.
With the correction.
With the corrections noted by Mr. Gorman. I ask for a voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Next is the visitor section. There are two opportunities for members of the audience to address council. One of those times is now, and the second will be at the conclusion of council's business. After we hear from them, then I'll ask if anybody else would like to come to the podium. I will tell you that there may be some contention about two subdivision plots that are being asked for approval from council. I will not hear from the public during those times, so if you have anything that you'd like to address council about anything that's on the agenda, now is the time to do so. In the past, I have erred on allowing bantering back and forth between council members, and we were not in a public hearing, so I'm not gonna allow that anymore. But if anybody wants to come to the podium after our 4 scheduled visitors, that would be the time to address the council. Do you have any addition, Madam Clerk, did we add any more visitors besides the 4?
There was a gentleman in the back row, he asked, and I told him he could speak up.
Is that you, Mr. Lee?
Yeah.
Yes.
I will take you 4th, 5th, and you, sir?
James Crawley, 6.
Six. He said he'd be six.
B6. You keep me straight here. Got a lot going on. All right. The first visitor is from Robinson Farm and Cox about the audit. If you want to come forward, I will tell you that Mr. Page has indicated to me that he has indigestion about approving this tonight, as we just received it. So you can field the questions, and we'll just play it by ear.
That sounds great.
All right. You have the floor, sir.
All right, so
Introduce yourself to council.
yeah, absolutely. So my name's Aaron Hawkins with Robinson Farmer Cox Associates, partner on charge on the audit. Here to present the audit results from the FY23 audit, and just go over some pages in the report that I've flagged to, let you know some things that I think are most imperative, and then open the floor for any questions that you may have for me. So, in the report, starting off with page 1 that I have flagged is our independent auditor's report. It contains our opinion on the audit, and really on the financial statements, our auditor's opinion on the financial statements that follow this. And it's an unmodified opinion, which means that the statements that follow this are free of material misstatement based on the testing that we've done. Jumping ahead to page 9 that I've flagged, which is Exhibit 5. I always like to stop here and kind of point out the fund balances for the town, and the ending fund balances are not in great shape right now for the governmental funds. It's the general fund and capital projects funds are both in a deficit at the end of the year for fund balance. There is a positive fund balance on special revenue fund. I think last year when I came, the fund balance was around 184,000, so it has gone down into deficit at this point. On page 12, though, the utility funds, the net positions there are very high. Electric into the year just shy of $6 million. Water and sewer just shy of $5 million. Jumping ahead, way far ahead to page 82, which is where we have our name, Robinson Farmer Cox Associates, at the top again. This is the report that we issue for the internal control testing that we have to do and state compliance for the town. If we had any findings to report, we would report those here, which we do not have any to report. And then page 84 is where we have our report and our opinion on the federal compliance work that we have to do for the town. The town, any entity that has over $750,000 of federal assistance has to have a single audit done, federal compliance testing. And the town has been in that group now for a few years in a row in terms of federal assistance, over 750. But we had no federal findings to report based on the work that we did as well. Just to kind of go over a couple of other items, just not in the report, but just kind of FYI things to go over with you all. I already talked about the fund balances, making you aware of those, you know, the couple of deficits that we had. Another thing was that the town did have a little bit of a hard time reconciling cash during the year, bank reconciliations. And then at the end of the year, I think they got to a point where they really couldn't figure out how to determine what the unreconciled amount was, so they had to basically do a journal entry to write off roughly $39,000 to bring the bank reconciliation in balance going forward, which and a one-time thing is you know, if you can't figure something out, it's probably the right thing to do, but it's not something to be repetitive with, you know, going forward. Once you get yourself to once you do that, you need to make sure you're keeping that thing reconciled going forward every month. And then the last item that I was going to mention of was for capital assets. You know, we had to do a little bit of assistance with the town in updating the depreciation schedules this year, and doing some entries to record things in the utility fund. Just some things that I know the town had hired a consultant to help them with some things, but that was one thing that we still had to kind of dive into and provide a little more assistance than we normally would. So those were the main things that I wanted to talk to you about tonight. I'm glad to do my best to answer any questions that you have for me.
Members of council, do you have any questions about the proposed audit, draft audit?
Philip had mentioned prior about the possible a shortcoming with some money, so I don't know if we're gonna look deeper into that or.
We are. And starting out was not okay, but this has been carrying on for many, many months.
Correct.
And we need some assistance. I think Jackie's asked me, Brittany's asked me for some assistance. We're working in that direction, but we overspent our allotted amount of money to do so. But no, just writing off $39,000 is not acceptable. The balance and provide the documentation that he needed. I understand, and yes, that's how it happened, but no, we need some help. And the ladies need some assistance in finalizing that, and it's one of the items I talked to you, I think, on Thursday, and I think I've mentioned it to the mayor. But yeah, we've got a lot of work to do, learning and growth and improvement, but I'm glad to see that, I don't think it's any surprise the general fund is thinking it up, and I think we've seen that in previous years, and I think it was the management letter last year. Our general fund spends more than the general fund brings in, and exceeds that which, we're able to provide to it. Chip will sort of the fund.
This is the full report, right?
Yes. And while it does say draft, I do not anticipate the final being any different than this draft, other than our QC department giving us things like clerical, typographical type corrections. They like to review it before we can make it final. We also have a couple of letters that we need to get back, representations from the town, attorney letter, before we can make it a final report. So.
It jumps from page 71 to 82. I didn't know if we were missing.
Gotcha. So that's a good observation. So, and I usually like to leave those out of the draft because those are statistical tables. They kind of provide the prior 10 years of information. And so just in case a number did change in this year's numbers, I would hate to not have it be correct in those tables because they aren't linked to anything else. That's from historical, it's just a practice that I do where I don't usually print those in the draft because I've done that before where I've done those statistical tables. I did have to change a number in the report, and then that table in the back didn't get updated in the current year amount, and it wasn't right. And so to avoid that, I like to make sure our QC departments reviewed it before I put in those statistical tables.
So this is everything except the statistical data?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Miller?
Well, you said that the ladies need some kind of assistance. What kind of assistance are you gonna give them? What are they asking for?
Well, what they're looking for, we were working with Ann Harity Shaver, and I think she was a little more than we were prepared to, our council was prepared to spend. I have every intention of working with John Montoro. Everybody in the business, I think, knows John Montoro. He's with Virginia Municipal League, Virginia Association of Counties, Finance, and instead of presenting a whole series of issues, we're going to start working a la carte and have Mr. Montoro resolve, one, the checking, that outstanding carryover, and then resolve issues as they come along. I think Treasurer's accountability statement needs some work. I'm not satisfied with that document. So we've got some things that we need to work on. We're not there yet. I think the ladies have an expectation they can receive some training, and I would like to do so. I know I can't spend more than $10,000, so I'll have to work on individual items and keep them under $10,000, and then come back to council if I need additional revenues. Not our best audit that we've had since I've been here.
I
But
was
it's-
just sitting there thinking, we spent, what, $50,000, $60,000?
We spent
For that
$47,000,
other lady that was here for training,
Mhm.
and she never trained.
and she did not get the job done.
And
correct.
I just don't see throwing money after money.
Well, you don't have a lot of choice at this point, okay? Really. We've got to fix this, okay? We can say we don't want it fixed, we're not going to put any more money to it. Those are options, but those are not good options. What we need to do is resolve the issues, okay? We need to resolve the issues.
$39,000, but we need to be good stewards of our.
We need to get down to the bottom of it. That's correct. That's correct.
Is it gonna cost more than $39,000 to find $9,000?
Excuse me?
Is it gonna cost more than $39,000 to find?
I don't anticipate that now.
In my opinion, it's gonna cost, we need to make sure we know where that money is.
I think it's already cost us
That part.
I mean, we already paid the lady, what, almost $40,000 or more.
Yeah, but that was the only issue that was.
She's working on a multitude of things, not just that one topic. But my plan, now that I'm going to be responsible for what's going on, specific, we're going to hand it as an a la carte. This is your one assignment. You resolve this checking issue. Your next assignment is this checking issue, and you'll give me a price associated with each of those particular issues. Once we receive invoicing that approaches $10,000, I come back to you and ask you if you want to continue to.
How long do you think we'll have to use the services of the VML financial gentleman?
We'll probably potentially,
Before the girls
as
start.
we worked with Sheila Minor, our previous finance director had Sheila Minor assist her for, I don't know, the entire time she was here. So, needless to say, we've had some consulting assistance probably since 2012, except for right now, we don't have any. All right.
Last year, I'm gonna borrow one of your rookie cards here, okay?
I'm out.
I don't even remember, I don't have much of a memory, I'm 63 years old. I did serve 8 years on council and four years finance chair. And I don't remember audits coming this late, this close to the budget. Is there something that we,
Yeah.
excited about that? Is this normally in the January, February timeframe?
No, it's not normal. And so I think we had it on the schedule to try to come out in the fall, and I think the consultant was just struggling to kind of get things to the point where it was ready for audit. And then I think January kind of rolled around, and we were like, we need to do this. Let's get in here and do it. And so we came in, started the field work in January. Ideally, I would have had this done in March. It's my fault that it's now and not March for sure. But yeah, we really weren't able to really get started until January.
Okay. I'm just trying to get some clarity here. This lady, Ann Shabert, what's her name?
Ann Harity Shaver.
Shabert, is she the cause of this being late?
Well, at least till the January point. Like I said, I usually like to give myself at least a month or two to get things done, but I would have liked to have had it finalized in March, and so.
It's very discouraging for me that we paid this astronomical rate to a vendor, and it doesn't look like we received a tenth of what we should have gotten, and now on top of that, she's held up this audit. So, I'm putting my grumble card on here, I'm grumbling. So, and I don't think it's any fault of yours, I think she came with good references, but is there
Excellent.
something we can do? Do we have any recourse, or we just, the town just got fleeced, and we just have to deal with it? Is that what
Well,
happened?
we can certainly ask for some money back if you'd like to
It's
do
very
so.
appropriate.
I'd be more than happy to discuss the topic with her. Whether she's agreeable to that, I don't know how far you guys want to press the matter, but it wasn't our favorite. But what I will explain to you, though, is the audit is typically presented in December. But if you remember, we're not really responsible for an audit anymore, as our population has dropped below 3,500. So the timing is not as important. The timing's important for drawdowns and grant applications and that sort of thing. And statutorily, we're obligated to present it to those funding agencies by the 1st of April, and we haven't been able to do that. But because we're under 3,500 population, we don't fall under the same obligations, say, Nottaway County does, or Amelia County, or Powhatan County, or larger communities. So the delay is not the problem, but no offense, but I'd rather have hit it by April 1st, and so we get
Is it
submitted out.
is it also general practice to get the audit as we start the meeting? I mean, is that? I mean, I'm sure you were working on it this week all the way up to try to finish it up, but
Yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough to for me. I admit, like I in a normal circumstance, I would have had a final report out 2 weeks ago for sure.
and I've seen.
I'm not gonna run away from that. You know,
I'd just like
admitting
time to
that fault
review.
of my own. But I'm not normally working on town audits in February, March. That's usually kind of our tax practice business at our office. So it's.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I usually carve out my time in the fall and the summer to work on my locality audits, and so it became a juggling act for sure. But no, hand up, I don't think I've ever come up here with a draft on a report and getting it to people with so little bit of time to review it. So I apologize for sure.
Well, I'm
No
gonna,
need for that.
I'm gonna ask you to make up for it. I'm gonna continue this meeting until March 1st at 7 p.m. So that my May 1st at 7 p.m. and allow my council members to do two things. One, to go over this audit, and number two, to be able to digest a very good comprehensive capital improvement plan. So we'll come back and we'll hear, if you can make that, we'll hear from you. And then we'll also have more time. We have a lengthy schedule, I'm old school, and I get the paper, and this is front and back with the council package. So we have a lengthy agenda, and council and I have discussed this after 10 p.m. We're really no use to anybody, and neither is staff. So could you come back?
I will certainly. That seems fair to me. As I don't have my schedule in front of me, but I've certainly.
First Wednesday of the month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Assuming I'm in the clear, I'm here.
Okay, members of council, am I on an island about my disgust with this contractor? Am I getting in front of you guys, or would you like to answer?
Excuse me.
It's past now, though. We can obviously approach her with the situation, but we're not gonna get anything.
It's like a guy who paints your home and you pay him, and you're not happy with the work afterwards. You find paint on the concrete and your windows weren't caulked. So what are you gonna do?
Well, I tell you what I can do, and that's what I'm asking you is because my 3,500 bosses have been fleeced, and I'd like us to be on the record to say we don't appreciate it, and that's what I'm asking.
I agree with you.
Okay?
I do too.
All right, good enough.
Can I say one thing
Yes, ma'am.
before we move on, real briefly, because I don't hold anybody's time? This young lady who did the audit for us last year, because I know when we voted on it, nobody was oversighting her or checking on her to see what was done or for corrections, or she never reported monthly, quarterly, or anything like that?
I don't think we had a monthly or quarterly report. I think the ladies were in contact with her, if not every day, every few days, and she would come to town periodically. I think you saw that there was a hotel bill on one of the invoices for her to come to town. But no, it was not a la carte. It was a series of, we need to work on this or we need to work on that, and I let it get away. I mean, I let her continue to work and put effort in. I assume you guys know Ann.
Honestly, not until I knew of you, but
She works with the town of Ashland and other places, and it was not acceptable, and I'll take full responsibility for letting it to become more than it was, but that doesn't eliminate the fact that we still need some help to get this stuff.
Is there a way that we
fixed.
can have Mr. Horf look at the agreement between us and her and make sure she fulfilled her end of the agreement.
Done deal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm not directing any of my frustration at you, Mr. Mayor. Okay? Our second speaker tonight is
You said May 1st at 7 p.m.?
correct. Is that agreeable to council?
Yeah, I'll email you. Sorry.
Thank you.
Do you need me any further?
No, sir.
I apologize.
Council,
Appreciate you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, sir.
appreciate your candor and your information, sir. Our second speaker tonight is Mr. Daniel Hanratty of the Blackstone Chamber of Commerce. Good to see you, Mr. Hanratty. What can we do for you this evening?
I came here to, well, I'll read the letter. Mayor Green and Council, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight on behalf of the Blackstone Chamber of Commerce. As the Executive Director, I'm here to request funding for the annual Blackstone 4th of July fireworks display. The Chamber recognizes the significance of hosting such an event in a military community like ours, not only for our local residents, but also for the men and women serving at Fort Barfoot. It's important to show appreciation for their sacrifices, especially for those who are away from their home during such a patriotic time and are unable to celebrate with their families. The fireworks display serves as a small token of our gratitude to them. Our goal is to make this 4th of July celebration memorable and impactful, showcasing the spirit of our nation. With funding support from the town of Blackstone, we aim to host a fireworks show that rivals those of much larger cities in Virginia. We've been fortunate to receive town funding in the past and hope for your consideration again this year. The fireworks display is highly anticipated and draws both local and residents and tourists alike. Hosting such an event aligns with number 4 of the town's council's goals of driving tourism and economic growth as outlined in its strategic plan for 2023 through 2027. By bringing in thousands of attendees, we can contribute to the town's tourism objectives and generate revenue through increased spending and tax contributions. It also aligns with number 3 of council's plans of providing entertainment for its youth and adults alike. We are requesting the use of the Blackstone Airport Airfield to host the event. We've already secured approval from Colonel Shaver, the commanding officer at Fort Barfoot, who has generously offered support in setting up and promoting this event. Additionally, the National Guard will provide recreational activities for youth and assist with event logistics to ensure its success. We've conducted informal surveys among local businesses and residents, and the overwhelming sentiment is in favor of continuing this tradition. Tonight, some of our community members are here to share their personal reasons for supporting the fireworks display. I would be extremely appreciative if we could have them speak prior to council making their final decision. I believe William Clark, our local celebrity folk artist, and Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Hoffman of the National Guard would like a brief moment to speak. We plan on the festivities to start at 5 p.m. on July the 3rd and continue until just after 9 p.m. when we would begin with the display. We intend to offer local food trucks the opportunity to set up in order to provide food and drink to the attendees. We do not plan, as the Chamber, to provide alcohol for sale, but do realize that our partner food trucks may wish to do so. In conclusion, we look forward to partnering with and promoting the town of Blackstone as a driving entity of this fun-filled event, which in turn should garner positive press for the town of Blackstone. We are formally asking for the contribution that was made by the town last year to be matched again this year. That contribution was $9,000. These funds will be used specifically to obtain proper insurance and also to pay for the fireworks. Thank you for your consideration and continued support of the Blackstone Chamber of Commerce and our initiative of driving commerce to the area.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You spoke of visitors. Are they here tonight, or you want to
I know-
have the opportunity to speak when passing the budget?
Mr. Mayor, I'm one of those.
Okay, did you want to speak tonight or a later date? I'm going to refer this to the Finance Committee and let them put it in the budget or whatever decision they make, and then the council will have a work session and go over the budget, and we'll have a public hearing, and then we'll have another meeting, and then another, but anyway, there'll be a public hearing for people to come and speak about that issue, okay? All right?
I can defer to that.
Okay, I would appreciate that, because I'm gonna refer this to,
And I appreciate that.
I don't think that it allows time for planning.
I don't, yeah.
okay?
My only thing would be, council, we need to remember, we've got $15,000 to spend each year in the discretionary fund. As long as we know that going forward, last year, not this current fiscal year, last year we spent $39,000 out of that 15, so we overspent.
I'll certainly entertain a motion.
I think for planning purposes, we can't kick the can down the road,
Okay.
personally. I don't know how everybody else feels.
Well, as Mayor Colvin taught me, council speaks through their motions.
Can you talk to me about your approvals for the airfield use?
Yeah, we had an informal conversation with Colonel Shaver. Kevin, as a lieutenant colonel, has direct access to him, obviously, and we did have an informal conversation, and he's more than welcome us to come there and use their facilities and everything. He's promised us to put up the bouncy tent for the kids and, you know, have logistical help and whatever he can do. He's giving us support.
I can remember I was very young when Fireworks for Freedom was on the airfield, but at that time there weren't 14 federal employees and an airport manager and a safety guy and an airport committee, and there's all sorts of things that are there now that weren't in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just encourage you to double check your approvals,
Sure.
to make sure that you're in the green there.
I appreciate that. We'll do that.
I would like to say something. I would like to go back to the finance committee because I feel that we have enough time. This is March, this is April. So it can go back within the next couple of weeks and then we'll come back as a panel and discuss it more. Because we had some opposition or we had some concerns about us giving $5,000 away. Now we're looking at $9,000. So I want to be fair to both and look at.
And I can certainly appreciate that. We will hit a point where it's not going to be feasible to get a firework company to come in and do it. Obviously, everybody's fighting for these same companies to do their 4th of July fireworks. So
And
we
I'm
will.
hold on, Mr. Miller, I'm very sympathetic of that.
Sure.
I asked Chairman Nash, could you meet with finance before the 1st and report back then? And we'll take it up on the 1st?
I would appreciate that.
Is that a pretty good compromise?
Yeah, absolutely, Mayor.
Same answer.
Okay.
That we have a fund to work with, and that's what we gotta stay within that balance, but.
Well, again,
Absolutely,
I
yes,
don't
let's
mind
go
referring it, Ms. Williams has asked for it to be referred, and I've done so, but I'm always open to a motion from council.
I just had a question. How much of the 9 is for insurance?
4.
4?
4.
Is it, insurance even on military site is still required to have that?
Yeah, they're not going to indemnify themselves. I mean, we're going to need to have insurance for it.
I was just curious.
I haven't heard any motion, so that's the plan. I'm gonna refer it to
I have to
Chairman
abstain.
Nash
I can't
and
make
his
a motion.
committee.
Yeah.
And we'll come back on the 1st, and we'll take it up then.
Well, I do appreciate you listening to me tonight, Mayor. Council,
for your
thank you.
presentation. Very much appreciated. Our third visitor tonight is Mrs. Grace McDonald with the Friends of the Library. It's good to see you, Grace. How you doing?
Great to be home. That's what
Well,
I got
we're glad
to
to have
say.
you. How can we help?
It's wonderful to be home. So I'm here just to talk to you as the president of the Friends of the Library because we feel it's important that you know that we're active in the community and that we're working hard to promote literacy and reading, especially for our children. The Friends help generate community support for the library and build greater awareness for the variety of services and resources available there. We provide support for programs, buy special equipment and books for the library, which may not be otherwise available through current funding. One of those programs is the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which sends a book monthly to those children who enroll from the age of when they're born to 5 years old. The current cost per child is $25.20 per year. And currently we have 220 children registered in the county in this program. So the funding for this comes from the Friends, but not just the Friends. A lot of other organizations support this program. One of the Friends' major activities is operating the Bookend at 102 Maple Street here in Blackstone. This used bookstore helps us raise funds for the Friends as well as provide the only bookstore in our community. The rent for us to have this bookstore is our major expense this year. All of the books in the store are donated by many book lovers, and we carry all kinds of books for all readers of all ages. We encourage parents to stop by and check out our selection of young adults and children's books, many of which are marked with reading levels. We would be a good resource for any homeschoolers. As a way to increase our revenues, we have started to offer book-themed items such as t-shirts, note cards, bookmarks, all of which are donated and crafted here locally. Just so everyone knows, we are currently open Monday and Thursday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Tuesday and Friday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and we're closed on Wednesdays. We occasionally have a special sale day on a Saturday, and the bookend is completely manned by volunteers. We now have a track phone so that people may call us at 434-312-1185 for more information and to leave a message. Also, Francis and Sarah Gilmore have generously offered one of the windows at their business on Main Street as a location for us to promote the bookend. Special events and sales will be posted there as well as at the store. We would encourage everyone to follow us on Facebook at the Bookend, Blackstone, Virginia, to keep up to date on our activities and any specials at the store. We are a nonprofit 501c3 organization, so any donations, either monetary or books, are tax deductible, and no one associated with the Friends receives any compensation. There are many events that we organize and participate, so I'd like to just tell you about a few. We partner with the Rotary this year to give out free dictionaries to every third grader in the county. The Friends also participated in the community Easter egg hunt at Say Park on Saturday, May 30, by providing 300 children's books to be given away free. We now have a Mother's Day basket raffle going on to raise money, and the tickets are very reasonable, $1 each or 5 for $6, and the drawing will be on May 3rd at the Bookend. This month, we're also doing a membership mailing to raise awareness of the Friends and to hopefully increase our support and encourage people to become volunteers and to help us in our efforts to promote reading and literacy in our community. We'll be participating in the Juneteenth event in Blackstone by giving away books to those who stop by to see us. We also support the summer reading program at the library with a monetary donation and supplies as needed. We also are present at the Arts and Crafts Festival so that people know that we're active in town and they can see what we have to offer at the Bookend. And we've been on the porch of the Blackstone Library for many years after the Grand Illumination, giving away free books to the children. And then during November and December, we plan to have another Christmas basket raffle with the drawing to take place on December 17th. Through all these events, we give away approximately 1,000 books this year to support literacy and reading here in Blackstone. I hope all of you will consider the importance of our libraries in the community, and especially consider any requests from the library director for needs at the library as you finalize the budget for next year. Tonight, I have an invitation for each of you and invite you and the public to join us at our open house at the Bookend on Friday, May 3rd from 5 to 7 p.m. Light refreshments will be served. We would like each of you to stop by to see us and to see what we have at the Bookend, to meet the Friends of the Library and other book lovers in the community. So I thank you, and I do have an invitation for each of you.
Madam Clerk, you have that phone number she provided. Can you have that in the minutes, please? Thank you. All right, any questions for Ms. McDonald? Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I hope we'll see you at an open house.
And you said that was it? I don't have the invitation.
Friday, May 3rd.
At what time?
5 to 7.
5 to 7.
Just to let you, I have a wedding rehearsal that evening, so I may make the very end of it, but most likely not.
Well, we'll forgive you for
I
that.
apologize. Thank you, though. I appreciate you guys for what you do.
Thank you.
When I did the counting of the numbers, that's right, I still have the church, right? Spring Hill is, Pastor, I didn't see, I've got to do better. I would have much rather you give the invocation than myself.
You did a wonderful job,
Well,
wonderful job. I want to pass these around. Proposal. And
You got it, Mr. Harf.
I have an extra one if you need a extra one.
Let's see, how many minutes? I think we're good here.
I don't have
We're
one.
one short.
Okay.
No, we're not.
No, I still don't
Does
have
council have
one. There
one?
we go. Thank you, man.
Okay.
All right. Travis Warren, pastor of Spring Hill Baptist Church. Once again, we come before you hoping that we can partner with the town on leasing the building at 410 Harrison Street. We read through the memo from the lawyer, and we tried to adjust our proposal to meet the requirements. I won't go through every item on here, but I will touch on the updates. one of the things I want to point out is that